E.L.F. launched these new Finest Fleck Glitter Eyeshadows, and not only was I super excited because I love a sparkly wet look eyeshadow, but also because they reminded me of one of my go-to formulas for everyday or glam makeup, which are these really shiny Natasha Denona shades. So you know the Natasha palettes are pricey. We're gonna put these to the test, see if the formula is nice, and see if they're comparable to the Natasha Denona shadows, because for $6, that would be awesome to just try out this kind of wet look formula and add some shades to your collection. All the info, review, details will be in this video, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. If you're not already subscribed, I would absolutely love to have you, and give this video a like so I know that you enjoyed this video. But thanks for listening. Let's go ahead and get swatching. Alrighty, let's get into these beautiful new E.L.F. eyeshadows. Before we start, really quickly, my lip combo. If you were wondering, this new collection from Smashbox, I've tried these lip liners before. The Be Legendary ones are super pigmented and long lasting. I use the shade Deep Mauve, which you can only tell because the lipstick is bold, but was a really pretty like neutral cool tone. And then this is new, like sort of a holiday release, Flash FX. These are like metallic lipsticks, and I have the shade Explosion on, which is this like beautiful like burgundy with like a metallic sheen in it, but it doesn't feel gritty at all, and they're super lightweight. So these are new to me, so I was excited to try them out and wanted to share that with you. Oh, and I also topped it with the E.L.F. lip plumping gloss. This is my first time trying the new packaging from this, but I've talked about the formula a ton and how much I like it. I wanted to try the shade Sweet Talker, which has like, it's a pink with a silver pearl in it, so I really love this if you like cool tones. I wanted to mention that shade as well. Let's get into these eyeshadows. When I first saw these, my first sort of instinct was that they looked like the Natasha Denona. I don't exactly know the name of this formula, but it's my favorite formula in my Natasha palette. Now this palette here is a combination of the Xenon and the I Need a Nude palette, but this whole bottom row, I love this formula so much, is all of those like wet looking fine grain metallics that aren't super chunky, and they just look so beautiful but still very wearable. So I will be comparing the formula to these and see if they're comparable, because if they are, that's such a good dupe. So these are described as a sheer sparkly eyeshadow topper packed with micro fine glitter flecks that can be worn alone or layered over eyeshadow for a long lasting sparkle. And it comes in 6 shades. One of them is currently sold out. I have 3 shades to try for you, and they are $6 a piece. Also says they're soft smooth formula, sheer topper. Okay, we got it. Just to start, they come with pretty standard E.L.F. packaging. Let's get into the actual eyeshadows though. So they come in these clear plastic containers, and I actually quite like this packaging, the way that it closes. You don't really have to like dig your finger into it to open it. Kind of seems like, it doesn't seem super cheap. It has a slightly nicer feel than just like, I don't know, a non-clear packaging. It just is a little bit hardier, it seems like, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna break or anything like a lot of like eyeshadow from the drugstore can do. So I have the 3 shades here that I picked out to share with you. The first shade I have here is called White Hot, which looks like a Natasha shade that I have. This is a really soft champagne, and it looks like it has quite a silver shimmer in it, so there's not a lot of warmth going on. Let's go ahead and swatch this. They feel really smooth and silky, and it looks like it's pretty good payoff there. Ooh, this is gorgeous. So they definitely weren't lying that it has a pretty sheer base. I don't really get any of that champagne color. It kind of is just transferring as a really light, sparkly, like smooth, shimmery color. I have high hopes for this because just on the swatch alone, it looks like it has a really nice, even color payoff, and it looks gorgeous. So we'll put it on the eyes. So I just have a tiny bit of bronzer in my crease, and that's about it, but I am ready to put some eyeshadow on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use my finger for this. I feel like these formulas definitely work best this way. This is so pretty. I really, really like this. Oh, let's compare it to the Natasha Denona shade before I move on. So the one I was thinking of is this shade here. I'm not sure the name of it, but it was from the I Need a Nude palette. So there's just like a quick comparison. This shade definitely, the Natasha one definitely looks like a little bit deeper. Let's swatch them next to each other. Okay, so not as similar as I thought. This is the Natasha shade, which definitely has more depth. It's actually not quite as sparkly as the E.L.F. one, which is a little bit surprising. But let's just see shine comparison wise. Top is E.L.F., bottom is Natasha Denona. They do have a pretty similar reflect, but honestly the E.L.F. one is giving me a little bit more like of that wet look. Back to the eye application though, I think this shade is really, really pretty. I just have some concealer and powder set on my lids, I don't really feel like there's any fallout with these. I think maybe if you were to go in with a brush, it might give you some fallout, but I just like using my fingers for these anyway. Let me take a closer look. So this is the shade White Hot. You know me, I love a silvery, light, shimmery shade. Like this would be an everyday color for me. That's what I really like about this formula and why it's similar to the Natasha Denona formula, is it gives you a lot of shine, but it still doesn't pull like a super dramatic makeup look like a really chunky shimmer does. It just kind of blends into the skin a little bit more, especially if you have fair skin like me and makeup pulls very makeupy on you. It's a really good formula. I like how it just pulls like a white shimmer. This one I think would be great on top of any other shadows. I am a little curious just to see maybe with like a matte shade what it would do to it. So let me just go into the Natasha palette and we'll take this like sort of mauve rose. Then taking the E.L.F sparkle topper, I'm just gonna pat it on top, see what kind of shade we can make. Okay, that's really cool. It seems to just add like a little bit of a silver sheen and sparkle to any kind of shade you put on top of it. And because they are formulated with a sheer base, it's not really gonna alter the shade too much. It's just gonna make it look wet and shiny, which is a really cool idea. And then the next shade I have here is the Pop Off Pink in the formula. This one looks like a lavender purple. It looks like it has blue, maybe like a hint of a warm sparkle in there. I'm not sure until we go ahead and swatch this. Okay, I can definitely tell there is some sort of like warm sparkle, maybe a slight like champagne sparkle. It's not super dramatic though. This one almost wasn't as pigmented as the first one. It has a little bit more color to it, but it is giving a similar shine to the first one. And to compare it to one of the Natasha shades, I'm gonna grab this light pink. I believe this one's called Mia. This is one of my favorite ones from them. So there's the Mia shade on the bottom from Natasha Denona, and then this is the E.L.F shade. They both have a similar like pink purple undertone. Natasha definitely has silver sparkle, whereas you're getting a little bit more of a multiple color sparkle in the E.L.F shade. So next, let's pop on this shade. I'm just gonna do the same method. I did try to wipe off that first one to the best of my ability. There's a little bit of sparkle left behind, but I don't think it'll change this shade too much. I'm going in multiple times when I'm applying these, by the way, since they're not like, they're definitely creamy, but you're not getting like a ton of pickup on the first pass. That makes sense. So here is Pop Off Pink. I like how subtle these are because the difference I'm noticing between this shade and the other one, this one just has a slight pink, like almost multicolor like sparkle through it. So it looks a little bit more like there's multiple colors going on versus that first shade, which kind of just has a silver sparkle. It's really pretty and subtle, and I think would look good on so many people. The shade would be gorgeous over probably like deep purples if you wanted to do anything more neutral even. Like, see it being really versatile, so I really enjoy this one as well. I thought these might be like a little bit more color payoff than they are in terms of like, oh, this was going to be like straight up purple, but at least on their own they are a topper, so it has that more sheer base. It looks a little bit more translucent almost, and then just gives you that super pretty wet look sparkle. Last but not least, we have the Straight Fire shade. This one looks a little bit more interesting. It's also a purple, but it has that like purple green bluish shift to it, which are some of my favorite eyeshadows. I think they are so pretty. Okay, this shade looks really cool. It has this like pinky base to it, but then it has a blue and silver shimmer to it. So it pulls like a beigey neutral almost. It's just one of those shades that they look so kind of like different in the pan than they pull on the eyes, but kind of in a cool way where depending on the light, it shows like a different shade. So I don't really have a Natasha Denona shade that is similar to this, but I did want to pull out the silver shade that I have to compare to the first shade that we swatched from E.L.F. I'll do it right next to it because they look really similar because this one is just a silver. So right here is Natasha, and then this is the E.L.F. Those look really similar. Let me swatch them on my fingers so you could see better. This is Natasha Denona, and then this is the E.L.F. shade. E.L.F. shade's a little bit more white, and then this one is Natasha Denona. It's like a little bit more silver, but I feel like they definitely have a similar finish. Before I apply this one, I think I want to do just a little bit more in my crease. So I'm going to go into my I Need a Nude palette combo with Xenon. Just take this matte taupe just to lay down a crease shade so we don't have completely bare lids. Now let's go ahead and apply the Straight Fire shade. This one has a similar level of pigmentation to the other ones. Ooh, I really like the way this one pulls. Purple with like a slight blue shift to it. This one is gorgeous. What I really like about these formulas is they're so beginner friendly because you can kind of just use your finger and spread them everywhere, and they still look really nice and seamless. Mine did get a little bit messy just because I've been wiping them off, but I think in terms of like fallout, there really wasn't like a ton of flakes because it is such a fine formula. You don't really have to deal with that too much. Like I said, use your finger though. To finish this look now, I'm gonna go back into that first lightest shade, which is called White Hot. Just want to pop that on the inner corner. I think these will go really nicely together, and they do. Then I'm gonna go in with some black liner. I feel like that'll really help pull the look together. Also just popped on some of my Maybelline Firework mascara, and now I finally feel like the look is pulled together. I think these are gorgeous. Granted that they wear well, I will say they are a very similar finish to the sort of like wet look Natasha shadows, if not even shinier than that, which is really cool and awesome to see from the drugstore, especially for $6. I like how I now have the option to add just more of my favorite types of looks in terms of eyeshadow formulas with some new shades for a much more affordable price than buying a whole new Natasha palette. So if you're already familiar with that formula, or you like the look of it, or you just want to try like a shiny fine glitter eyeshadow, I think these are an awesome launch from E.L.F. I don't feel like they're necessarily like a direct dupe for anything, like they're trying specifically to dupe anything. I think they're just a beautiful, like more holiday launch for them, and I really like how they can be more natural. I do wear these, the Natasha formulas, on the everyday basis, so I could see these working for everyday looks but also being glammed up, putting on top of other eyeshadows. There's a lot of possibilities, and I like how they don't feel like super cheap in terms of the packaging or formula either. They feel really nice. Let me know which one of these shades was your favorite, and if you plan on picking any of them up. Like I said, one of them's already sold out on the website, so you might want to check those out before more of them sell out. But if you did find this enjoyable and helpful, please don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and I will go ahead and pop another video on the screen here so we can keep hanging out, and I will see you over in this next video. Bye.